Our next overly abused and used out of context Bible verse is actually my favorite. Romans 8:28. It says something like, God will work all things together for good for those who love him. So now, a lot of people will use this verse if someone's having a bad day. Oh, don't worry, God will work all things for good. Especially if you're a Christian. Another Christian will tell you, hey, don't worry, God will work all things for good. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because if that's the truth, if I have cancer, will God work all things for good? Which means what? Remove my cancer or remove my bad situation? It doesn't always happen that way. So that's not what it means. First of all, this is addressing for those who love God. Who loves God? For those who love Jesus, the biblical Jesus. So if you're a believer of the biblical Jesus, this verse is for you. But it's not for a specific situation or a particular problem in your life. The reason why God will work all things for good 100% of the time, because what he means is, Christians, whatever problem you're having here on earth is just temporary, and it's going to be all good when you get to heaven. It's saying that if you're a believer of Jesus Christ, the biblical Jesus now, not just any Jesus, the biblical Jesus, you're promised eternal life in heaven. That's why God could say, Paul writing here saying, you love God? Means you love Jesus, the biblical Jesus? Don't worry. God's going to work all things for good. If you just keep reading verse 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, the rest of the chapter, it says, who can separate us from the love of God? And Paul writes the whole list. In short, he's saying, who could separate us from the love of God? Nothing could ever separate us from the love of God. So that's what it means, and that's what it doesn't mean too. Okay? So read your Bible verses in context. You gotta remember, when Paul wrote this, it was in one shot, one letter. No paragraph breaks, no Bible verse breaks. And so we get used to falling in love with a Bible verse and we end up misusing it, taking it out of context. The Bible verse is without its meaning apart from its context. You define the Bible verse within its context. Context, context, context.